Welcome everybody to the current version of the Monday Masterclass with Scott Burleson and myself. Today we're going to talk about a whole new method of probing called SALT probing, S-A-L-T. And there's a good chance you have not heard of this before. We used to only teach this in a workshop we held for advanced skills and blue belt candidates. And we're actually changing the way we do things. That'll now be part of something everybody can do. So we're bringing this really powerful probing method to you today. And we think you're going to enjoy this. So why don't we get started? We're going to make this participative. We're going to go over some material. We're going to give you a chance to practice this a little bit. So have your finger on that unmute button when we get to that point in time, and we'll let you jump in and practice this new skill. And of course, we're going to keep this informal. So anytime you have any questions at all, just go ahead and let us know, and we'll work it together. So let me get out of here for a second. Hang on for a jiffy here. And what I'm going to do is take us over into the Blueprinting Center. So let's go there now. And you should see the Blueprinting Center here. So the first thing I want to do is go to the Blue Tools area here. And within Blue Tools, as you know, you've got all kinds of tools for doing blueprinting. And one of them, very popular under Conducting Discovery, is the Discovery Interview Quick Start card. Now, I've already got that rascal pulled up here. Hang on a second so we can see this a little bit better. And what I'm going to do is take you to side 2 of this Discovery Interview Quick Start card. Here we go. There, that should look familiar to you. Now, if we go to side 2, you may remember at the bottom of this, we've got these helpful tips. We call them the what and why probing method. Does that kind of come back to your recollection? So you're in the Discovery interview, you got these sticky notes up there, the customer says something like it would be nice if the seatbelts worked, and you now have to ask them what questions. You know, when do you have problems? Where do you have problems? Can you describe this? Then you move on to the why questions. Well, why is this a problem for you? How does this impact you? And here's what we've noticed over the years. We've noticed the why questions are pretty easy. Like, that's not hard. How does that impact you? Yeah, right? What could be easier? But the what questions, not always so easy. Sometimes asking when doesn't make sense, or asking where doesn't make sense. So we came up with a new probing method. We call it the SALT probing method. And let me show you where you can learn all about this method before I take you into the weeds on this. If you go over here to Blue Help, everything you need to know in life about blueprinting is here. So if I type in SALT, look at that. SALT method for advanced probing. You can always go here and get a real quick update on this whole thing. It's part of it kind of works with the what and why probing. And then it describes why we call it SALT: senses, actors, location, timing. And I won't drag you through this right now because I'm going to, in the Blue Help, I'm going to show you the actual document itself. Now, if you want to get that downloadable document, I just zipped over kind of quickly, come back to Blue Tools, click Conduct Discovery, because you're going to use this in Discovery. Let's look for the SALT probing method. Not there, not there. There it is. And so now we have the SALT probing method that we can use. So you can download that whenever you want. I've already downloaded it here. And let's walk through this. There's 2 sides to the SALT probing method. Side 1 describes all the questions you could ask, and side 2 gives you some examples. So let me zoom in here so you can actually see this. So what do we mean by senses? So let's say somebody had a certain situation. They might say, you know, when I get in a taxi cab, you know, it's really dirty. Really? Well, what does that dirt look like? You might not ask them what it feels like. Maybe you ask them what it smells like. I don't know. You have to tune your questions to whatever it is to make sure it makes sense, right? But you might ask them, so when I think about the senses, it's like, if I was there, what would I be experiencing? That's how I think of the senses. Maybe they say, oh, you know, there's not enough room in the cab. Now might go to the actors here. So what people are involved, what things, what interactions between people and things, what environment. And so you might say, now, where do you see this in the back of the taxi? Is it behind the driver or the passenger? You know, how's it interacting with the equipment in the car? So you would ask, so these actor questions can be very helpful also. And then there's location questions. You know, it takes too long. I feel like it's taking too long on some of these taxi rides. Oh, really? Is that, you know, where do you normally see this? What parts of the world? Is it when you're traveling from certain places, hotels, you know, airports and so forth? So those would be some location questions. And then timing questions. These are, I think, the easiest ones. What does that happen? Oh, really? How often does that happen? Yeah, how long does that normally take? What's the duration of that? What's next? So these are really powerful. By the way, these questions are also good because they can help you assign a value to something. If there's a certain problem and you know how often it happens and how long it lasts, you might know how much it's costing the customer. And then there's some bonus questions. Could you describe that more for me? Are there any other details I should know about this? And then I like this one. Well, how severe a problem is this? How likely is it you see this? How much do you see this? And sometimes even breaking it down into, well, tell me about the different types of litter that you see in a taxi or dirt or whatever it is. All right, so that is side one. Now side two, if we kept going here, would take us through some examples. These would be examples, what looks like. What does a poorly maintained cab look like? What does this road noise sound like? What do you think you're feeling in the seats if it's dirty? Ooh. What, any idea what you're smelling in the trunk? So you get an idea. This will give you some ideas of how these questions could be used, okay? So download this when you get a chance. Take it with you on interviews. Now here's a tip. When you're doing web conference interviewing, what we call virtual VOC, this is really easy to have in front of you. So I recommend have your what and why probing method at the bottom of your Discovery interview quick start card, and then have your SALT probing method. And before I forget, let me just get out of here for a second. If you haven't done this already, download our white paper on virtual VOC. Go over to Insights, go to White Papers, and the very top one is virtual VOC. One of the many tips in here is have your probing tips in front of you so you can see them. And this would be a really good one to have. Okay, Scott and I are gonna do a little fun exercise with you here. But before we go there, are there any questions at all on what we've covered so far with the SALT probing method?
So again, just feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
Now, what we're going to do, Scott, is we'll take them on a little exercise, and this is audience participation time. So let me get out of here, and I'm going to open up a PowerPoint. And this is the SALT probing method we're covering here. And there's side one and side two of the document that you can use. And if you want to, go out to your blueprinting center now and download that, feel free. You can take a look at that. It might be helpful for you. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a little exercise here. Hopefully you can read some of these on the left. Now here's the simulation we're going to go through. You all, Scott and the rest of you all work for the Acme Packaging Company. And you want to come up with a new type of corrugated packaging. It's going to be a little bit of recycled plastic and mostly recycled paper products. And so you're interviewing people in the packaging industry. So I could be working for Amazon. I could be delivering packages like UPS. Those are the people I am right now, okay? You're in a discovery interview. The sticky notes are up there on the screen. And I'm going to say something. And I might say, well, you know, we have problems with the puncture boxes. And I'm going to give you guys 10 seconds to see if you can think of any good questions coming off this list. If you don't worry about it. Scott and I'll see if we come up with some. But let's just take an example. Let me go through an example here. You might say, well, what do these punctures look like? maybe you would go down to location. Where on the box do you normally see it punctured? Maybe you go down to timing. Well, how often do you normally see this problem? Those would be examples of this. Could you describe the puncture a little bit more for me? So you get the idea. Those are all what questions, but they're being driven here by this SALT method. So let me go ahead. I'm going to put the next one up, and you guys can just unmute yourself and holler out an answer or a probing question. I say, you know, it's a hassle for fillers to erect. That means kind of stand up each new box before they fill it. Any probing questions?
What are they saying their hassles are?
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's a wonderful question. It's kind of a variation of the describe this for me. Very nicely done. Anybody else have one?
Yeah, how often do they have the issue?
Perfect. Love it. That's great. I love that. And then you could go, how long does it take them to erect the box, right? All those are great questions. You guys have got it. Let's try another one here. I say, you know, moisture can make the boxes lose strength. What do you think? What could be a good probing question?
What time does this happen? Is there a specific time it happens?
Fantastic. Yeah, exactly. And I might talk to you about how long they've been stored before. It might be a time of day. That's a wonderful question. What else?
Whereabouts are you storing the boxes?
Where am I storing the boxes? Good. Is it in high humidity Louisiana warehouse or is it, yeah, good. And I heard another one.
How much moisture?
Perfect. Perfect. How much? That's a great one. Oh, you guys got it. Let's try another one. You know, when robots handle the boxes, they can slip.
What does that look like? Where do they slip?
Good. Where do they slip? And also describing it. What does it look like? The senses up there. I like both of those questions. Good. Others? This is a hard one, I think.
What type of grippers do the robots use?
Good. Excellent. What type of grippers? Kind of a variation on the describe that a little bit more, isn't it? I like that.
Is
Cool.
it all robots or specific ones?
See, I like that question a lot. You're getting into the actors. That's a question I was wondering too. You know, when does a person handle it? When does the machine handle it? What's the interaction here? You're kind of getting into their world, aren't you? That's a nice one. How about this? If a box is bounced, contents may be damaged.
What type of damage?
Good. What type of damage? Very good.
What kind of bouncing?
Yeah, what are we, who's bouncing these things anyway? But you're right. What kind of bouncing? Because I might talk about this is when it's in the shipment, you know, when it's being delivered in rural areas with potholes or who knows? But that's important to know, isn't it? Very good. We'll try another one here. You know, sometimes we see dirt sticking to the box.
Where it normally happens.
Where do you normally see this? Right, because we don't know at this point. Is it when the boxes are delivered to us as blanks? Is it as they get shipped? Is it when the consumer gets it? Wonderful question. It really narrows it down. Any others?
How often does this happen?
Good. I heard how often does it happen? That's really good. And what was the other one?
What kind of dirt? How does it look?
Very good. Yeah. Yeah, I like it. What does it look like? Exactly. And if you really want to get into what does that dirt feel like and smell like? That's great. I love it. Some customers struggle opening the box. What might you ask on something like that? That's a little tricky, isn't it?
Is it a specific box shape?
Good. Ooh, that's great. Does it happen more with some types of box shapes than others? Okay.
Are there specific customers or age group or demographics?
Yeah, I like it. You know what you just did there is you went down to this break into sub-classifications down at the bottom, number 3. I like that. Tell me more about the types of customers. That's good. I'm going to go another one here. You know, too much weight on a box can crush it.
How much is too much?
Oh, perfect. How much weight? That's great. Now you're starting to get something where if you were to develop a new box, you could test it. They could say, well, in this number of boxes of average this amount of weight. Now you have a way of replicating the customer experience. Very good. Anything else on that one?
Maybe how long too, how long does it have to hold the weight?
There you go. That's right. Now you've really nailed your test method, haven't you? How much weight and how long does it have to hold up? Perfect. I love that. Okay. And then sometimes we get box separation.
I would ask, what's that look like? Because I'm not sure what that means.
Perfect. Could you describe it? Exactly. Because it might be, in this case, maybe the fluting, the ripple things inside, the box gets separated, or it could have meant that's the actual blanket separate, or it could have meant that maybe the panels where they're glued together get separated. We weren't very clear. So to describe it is a great question. Any other questions on that?
How frequently does that happen?
Good. How frequently? Good. That's the how often version here. I like it. Now, when a box arrives worn looking, it's bad.
What does worn looking look like?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. You know, and now in a way we're getting, that's a describe more. It's also what does it look like up here? And it's going to even lead us to this number 3 subclassifications, because it might be the printing is worn. It might be the box itself looks scuffed, you know, could be many, many things. And if that happens, now you want to break it into individual sticky notes, because there are different outcomes potentially. Almost done. We wish the box could take high resolution printing.
I would actually go, what would that do for you?
I know this one begs the question, what would that do for you? Exactly. I was thinking exactly the same thing. I want to go right there. But I probably would try to do a little bit more first, because it would help me. Although I could revert back to that, either one. Can you think of any what questions on the high resolution printing?
What does that look like? How many colors?
Yeah. What do you
What
mean by high
location?
resolution? That's right.
Large,
Is it-
small.
Perfect, Margot. Are we talking dots per inch? Are we talking the way the colors line up? You know, describe that for me. And then, as you say, what would you do with that? And here, I love the reason what would you do with it? Because if they said, wow, you know, if we get high resolution printing and the box is white, we could avoid the whole labeling thing for, you know, promotional purposes. Really? Well, how much those labels cost now? But now you're starting to get some real value in here. That's a good thing about both what and why questions. I think why tells you how they're going to save money, what general category, labor savings, material savings, whatever. I think the what questions help you quantify it. How often does that happen? How long does that happen? So those are good. And last one, it's a pain holding a big inventory of box types.
How many box sizes do you have?
Perfect. What are you doing now? How many box sizes? That's a great starting point. You can describe that. Anything else on that one?
What is the pain?
Yeah, what is the pain?
Describe.
Describe that for me. Yeah, why is it a pain? Tell me about that. Beautiful. You know, all these questions you asked were short questions. They all came off of this sheet. I don't think there was anything that didn't come off this sheet. So this, again, is something you can have in front of you. It's a fairly simple tool. Scott, as we're going through it, it's making me wonder, should we be bringing this into our core workshop? But we won't do that right away. But I think it's pretty helpful for this. Any feedback from you? Is this something you would use? Would this be useful for you to have this in some of your interviews Could you please describe this for me?
I think it's great because I get tired of saying the same, tell me more, or how
Yeah.
can you describe that? Or I think it's nice to be able to jump around, and you naturally want to do that, but this frames it a lot better.
I think it's a great point, Margot. And here's the other thing that occurs to me. You know, it's if you practice it, they become second nature. You can still have it in front of you. And if you're doing virtual VOC, nobody even knows you're practicing it. So it's probably easier to build this skill right now when our interviews have to be done by web conference than later when you have to have this sheet in front of you. So maybe it's a good chance to do this now. Excellent.
Hi,
Yeah,
Dan.
please.
It's Mark Fami, Sangaban.
Hey, Mark.
Hello. I've got a question because I think this is a really, really good tool. I think always with blueprinting, it's always about being a customer-led interview.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to work out here is the balance between you asking very specific questions, going down different avenues, and letting them go where they need to go. So to me, what it seems like, and asking directly from your feedback, I think it does fit more at an advanced level.
Yeah.
If you put this into the beginner, it might get them a bit too narrow in the types of questions they're asked, rather than getting the customer to lead you where you want to go.
Ooh.
So the benefits of, tell me more about that. You know, what does that mean? Can you elaborate on that? And then really letting it open, I think is still useful. And then going into these, but that's my initial reaction to
That's a very, very good point, Mark. I think you're right, because we could confuse people and they could go into these details and kind of forget about the what else going between notes, because we're throwing so much at them at that first workshop. For people more experienced, what we'll remember is the customer leads the interview every time we finish a yellow or green sticky note and say, what other problems are you having? Wide open. They take us to where they're going. And then these are ways of going deeper into what they thought was important. So it's a way of probing. But I think that might be, you know what? I think you just convinced me. I think that might be throwing a little bit too much at somebody who's just learning this at the very first time in a couple of half-day workshops. So maybe this we keep, well, here, you know what I think we'll do? Okay, now you help me, guys. What we're going to be doing in the future is after we do a workshop, you may remember how we used to have web conference coach sessions where the coach would just kind of almost be more of a note taker and record how all the teams are doing. It was a little bit heavy on accountability and a little bit light on coaching, frankly. What we're going to do in the future is after a workshop, we'll still have coach web conferences. We're calling it in-team coaching. And that in-team coaching, in fact, let me just show you real quickly here. The in-team coaching will be dedicated for the coach to basically work with each team in a series of sessions. So what I'm going to go over here real quickly, we just created this website, so I actually remember where it's at. We're having this thing called in-team coaching. So let's say you had a workshop with 4 teams. Each team would have a coach. It could be the same coach, but each team would have a coach join them in their team and go through up to 12 different web conferences just for that team. And what you just sparked, Mark, was this. What we'll do is we'll bring the SALT method in here. So at one of these sessions, the AIM coach will introduce the SALT method after they've learned the basics and they can go deeper. Wow, you guys should charge me for these sessions. Thank you, Mark. Does that make sense? Yeah, excellent, excellent. Any other comments on this? And then what we'll do is, if there are no more comments on this, we're going to open it up to just general questions. We always like to see if people have any questions we can help with. We usually save the last half hour for that. And if there aren't any, there's no problem. People have other work to do. But before I go there, any last questions or observations on the SALT probing method, how you might use it? Anything like that? Okay, so what I would ask you to do is when you go back and work with your colleagues, let them know about this. You're gonna, because at the next discovery interview you do, they're gonna go, wow, Margot or Mark, you guys you're really good at this. How'd you come up with all those great questions? And then if you want to, you can tell them you were using the SALT probing method, okay? All right, very good, very good. All right, well, let's swing into the wide open session. You don't have to have questions, but we'd like to open this up. If you have any questions that have come up over the last couple weeks or whenever that on your team struggling with something, or you've noticed somebody has questions, anything at all is fair game. Anybody have anything you'd like to bring up? And I have one more thing before we're done, but you go ahead first if you have anything.
Dan, I wish you could hear me laughing through your commentary all the time. I don't unmute myself, but you are very entertaining. I have to,
A goofball.
I actually have to sign off for a 10:30, but I didn't want you to think I was huffing away.
Well, thanks for coming here, Margot, and good luck with the
All right.
salt probing. You'll do great
Good to
with
see
it.
you guys look great.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Any other observations or questions? Well, I'm going to share one last thing with you, and then we'll give you one more chance, and then we'll say so long for now. Let me go and let me tell you what we're going to do at the next Monday Masterclass. I am probably more excited about this than any Monday Masterclass we've had up till now. And I think this might be something you might want to drag some colleagues to. So it's brand new. If you'll notice, I'm up here in the blueprinting section right now, right? That's where things happen. We've also got product launch and Minesweeper project de-risking. Now, what you'll see up here is an executive and an admin function, okay? Now, if you tell us, there's no cost for this. If you say, you know, Dan, I want my executives to see a portfolio of projects. This is what we're going to cover on August 17th at the Monday Masterclass. You just let us know, and we will then sign them up. And then here's what they'll be able to see. I'm just going to do a demo here so you can see this, okay? They're going to see a demo. They'll be able to look at all of the projects in their business. They'll be able to see, whoops, sorry about that. They'll be able to see the red, oh, come on. I hit the wrong button here. Sorry about that. Let me do that again. They'll be able to see what phase it's at. Orange is, discovery, preference, be able to sort it. They'll be able to see all kinds of stuff in here that'll be very, very valuable. So at any rate, come on back for August 17th. We'll show you how this works. Market case goals. The dots are the discovery and preference interviews, filtering, sorting by region, all kinds of stuff. And we'll even show you the cool bubble chart here. So I won't go into that now. If you have a question before August 17th and you want to go into this more deeply, let Scott or me know. But basically, this is, for us, is kind of momentous. It means up until now, blueprinting has only been about project by project by project. What it means going forward is your executive, your leadership team will be able to look at a portfolio of all the projects in the front end. You know how we used to call it the fuzzy front end? This will now become the most clear and transparent part of your entire stage gate process. And not only that, but if you want to pump all that data directly into your stage gate process, be it a homegrown process or a third-party system like Sophia and Accolade, let us know that and we'll work with you on that too. So that's August 17th. Bring your friends and family and we'll go into that in more detail, okay? All right, any last questions or thoughts before we say so long for now? All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Scott, did you have anything else before I say bye-bye?
I don't, other than, well, I said I don't, then here I do. But that sneak peek we just had of this executive dashboard, I think it's one of the most exciting new products, really, from us since Blueprinter 5.0 in the cloud itself. It's going to be so amazing. I don't want to, go into the next section, but I guess come back, kids, in a few weeks, because we're very excited to go into some details with you about this executive dashboard and how, for you and for your company, how it just helps you to get some control and just better execute not just an individual project, but a real program for innovation. We're really excited. We hope you'll come back in a few weeks for us to talk about it with you.
And I'll just say, we'll cover three things, then I really will stop. The first step is you'll set up an admin, and you will set up your groups and divisions so you'll be able to sort by group and division. Second step, you'll need to go into, your team leaders need to go into your projects and add a little more information. It's helpful to be tracked. Then the executives tell us who those people are, and they'll be off and running. So we'll cover all that on August 17th. thank you so much for joining us. We'd love to see some of the heavy users here and really appreciate you taking the time on a Monday. Have a great
Sorry,
rest
Dan.
of the week. Oh yeah, please.
Sorry, Dan, on the executive dashboard,
Yeah.
when will we see that, and who will have access to that?
Yes, within your company, I've already gone over this with all of every vice president of a group, Graham, has seen this now. And
Okay.
as you know, you guys have got like hundreds of projects, right, in your company.
Yeah.
But we have already established the groups and divisions. That's already done. And each of those executive, the VPs of your technology, they should be working now with team leaders going through updating the project settings. And to the extent that they've done that, that is all now available to them. Now, I recommend that blue belts like yourself, Graham, are given executive status. So check in with somebody like a Bill Bean and say, hey, listen, I want to be one of the executives. I want to be able to see this and maybe even help people get this all set up.
Okay.
So very good.
Thanks, Dan.
Graham. Thank you.
Hey,
All right.
Can this be integrated into Salesforce?
Well, that's the other thing we're working on. We have a lead client we're working with that we want to look at how we can interact with Salesforce.com in two ways. One is train the salespeople to capture outcomes and then have that pumped into blueprinting, but then also to have key account interviews like discovery interviews and so forth moved over into Salesforce. So when an account manager is going in to see a large account, they can see that they've already done discovery interviews. So we're actually just beginning to work on that looking at both directions, integrating with Salesforce. So that's something that will be coming in the future. Good question.
Fantastic.
You bet. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful week, and let us know anytime if you have questions. Just drop us an email.